Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Hallo, Cutie. Wie geht's? Alles gut? Alles gut, mon ami? I hope everything is fine, everything is up, everything is on point. I have tons of things to tell you now, but let's keep it chill. Let's have a conversation with God. Let's connect ourselves with the Almighty. Dankeschön, Vater, für dieses Tag. Dankeschön, Vater, für dieses Niveau, für diese Besprechung, für diese Sprache. Dankeschön für dieses Niveau, für diese Rechnungen, Vater, für dieses Niveau, für dieses Einkommen, Vater. Dankeschön für deine Hilfe, für dein Niveau, Vater. Dankeschön für alles, was du hast uns gegeben. Dankeschön für alles, was du mir gegeben, Vater. Ich liebe dich, Vater. Du bist mein lieber Vater. Du bist meine Liebe, Vater. Du bist alles, was ich möchte. Alles, was ich brauche. Dankeschön für dieses Tag. Dankeschön für dieses Verwässern, für diese Sprache, für diese Gesundheit, für dieses Niveau, Vater. Dankeschön für alles, was du hast mir gegeben. Und Dankeschön, dass du bist alles, was ich möchte. Dankeschön für jeden Tag, du bist mit mir. Dankeschön für jeden Tag, du bist meine Wissenschaft, meine Kenntnisse. Und Dankeschön, dass ich konnte versprechen und sprechen. Eine Verehrung vor dich, Vater. Dankeschön, dass du bist immer mit mir. Jeden Tag mit mir, Vater. Mit keiner Angst, mit keiner schlechten Sprache. Und Dankeschön, dass du bist mit mir. Dankeschön, dass ich konnte sprechen, was du möchtest. Meine Brüder nüchtern kommunizieren, meine Brüder nüchtern nüchtern. Vater, meine Brüder würdig, Vater, meine Brüder würdig, lieber Vater. In deinem Namen, im Namen von Jesus, Amen. So Leute, wie geht's? All good? So life, huh? This has been a whole exploration about understanding the science, understanding love, the concept of all. We can now say that we have reached a point where we know tons of stuff, tons of knowledge. We have this awareness about God and His Versprechungen, His promises to us, and His awareness in this side. So I felt like I needed to start with Genesis. To be honest, I really felt the guidance of God in this exploration, in this whole exploration. So I have a couple of points that I want to say right now. So it's good to know about life, and we need to win. Like if we were in a piñata and there's just 5 winnies, and we want the winners. We totally want the winners. So we just go for it, fight a little bit, kick some people bodies, and well, some kid bodies. I don't know what kind of piñata you have been, but if you want the winners, you need to go for the winners and all the way through. In this point, we are searching about Genesis, about the whole exploration of it. We need to be understanding what is life about, what is the understanding about, and how this begins. So I read it in English and in Spanish. Right now I'm full of memes and memes and all that stuff. I will read it in English. La palabra de Dios. A ver, English. What version do you want, those? What version do you find yourself in freedom? New Century version. Let's read the New Century version. I hope this version is quite good with the whole understanding. If not, no worries at all. Let's start the game, baby. So, chapter 1, the beginning of the world. In the beginning, God created the sky and the earth. The earth was empty and had no form. Darkness covered the ocean, and God's Spirit was moving over the water. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and so divided the light from the darkness. God named the light day and the darkness night. Evening passed and morning came. This was the first day. Then God said, let it be something to divide the water in two. So God made the air on places of some water above the earth and some below it. God named the air sky. Evening passed and the morning came. This was the second day. Then God said, let it be water under the sky be gathered together so they dry and land will appear. And it happened. God named the dry land earth, and the water was gathered together seas. Gathered together seas. God saw this was good. So we have these first 3 days. You know what I mean? We have this third understanding where God created light and separate light from the darkness. In this whole expression of the chapter 1, we can see something. God just need to say a word. He just need to speak it. Maybe he just need to thought about it, or maybe not. And things come true, and things appear, and situations appear. Let there be light, and there was light. And that's not all. He saw the light was good, so he has a good comprehension, a perfect and enlightened conversation, a divine conversation about what he's doing. So we can see something. It repeats, and he saw it was good, and he saw it was good, and he saw it was good. Until we came to man with Adam. And he saw Adam was good also. But in some point he was treason by Adam. And in that whole point of treasoning, being treasoned by Eden, God was super upset. Super upset. I will read this in Spanish. I hope I have. So, well, no, let's go to chapter 2 first. Chapter 2, 23. Chapter 2, Chapter 2, 23. Bible Gateway. Okay. Chapter 23. So God created the whole animals, and Aiden wasn't alone. He actually has his friends, his homies, his homeboys, like uh, cute dogs and blessing birds that were speaking to him. I don't know if they were speaking, but probably they have a good conversation. Um, Pretty much, he was hanging out with his homeboys and chilling and all the stuff. But he was alone. He felt alone, and God saw that. So he waited until he was asleep, and he removed a bone from his chest, a rib, and this rib become become the woman. Um, First of all, when God created Aden, he created Aden and he blew up from his mouth to the nose of Aden, and he gave a spirit. We know we have body, we are soul, but he blew up the soul for us. He blew up the spirit for us. So he shared the spirit with his son, and that's why Eren has this all this understanding, these feelings, this enlightenment, these decisions, and uh, he was the fab of the creation in that moment. After Jesus Christ, of course. Well, he's not part of the creation, but he's part of he's God. So we can say he was in some point the second fab. Um, when we speak about that moment, now there's in chapter 223, there's something beautiful, and he says, and the man said, now this is someone whose bones came from my bones, and his body came from my body. I will call her woman, because she was taken out of a man. She was taken out of man. Um, he says, my bones, you came from, you are from the bones, from my bones, and you are body of my body, you are flesh of my flesh. That is impressive, right? From our flesh, from the flesh of man, is impressive. And right now is a good understanding to have this enlightenment about how uh, how these girls are so enlightened. Nah, I'm joking. No, how these girls become girls and all this stuff. Uh, but the interesting thing is why God didn't choose the nose or a shoulder or the funny part of the ear. I mean, why the ribs? Why not the spirit? Why not part of the spirit of God, if you know what I mean? But there is something. So when you marry someone, and that's my philosophy of the week, if you marry someone, your spirit is shared with that woman. You become one body and one soul. So you become a totally united person, united being, a whole united spirit, a whole soul, united soul that you own each other. That's why divorce is so hard. And I don't know if you have a breakup, but that's why a breakup can be super harsh and uh, super intense. You feel like something is ripping off your body, and that's why. It's because we are one soul. We become one soul. So everything was uh, Winnie's and piñatas, and everything was like flowers and shampoo. And in one point, they sing. So in chapter 3, we can see the first scene in the world. I spoke with my mom about that, and she told me, for her, that's the worst day of human life. That's the worst moment of humanity. Why? Because we could be in the Eden right now. We could be with no pain, with no needed to job, to work, naked, having fun, talking to animals, maybe playing some Mario Kart with them, having all the enlightenment, having all the discernment, walking with God. We're gonna have deaths or sorrows or bad thought, bad relationships, bad energy. We will be totally in a utopia, in a utopia. Um, so they seen because they couldn't eat from one fruit, just one tree of the whole Eden. And in this moment, the a snake came and started saying that was possessed by the devil and started talking to the woman. And Eve said, "No, I can't eat in that tree." And he says, why not? If you know, if you eat from that tree, you will become like God. And that that sentences broke the ego of Eve, and they eat from the fruit, and actually they become aware of the good and the badness. So they were naked and they start having fear, and they put cover herself. When God came, He says, "Why you're hiding? Why you're hiding? Why you're not with me? Why you're not walking with me? Why you're hiding?" And they say, "Because we're naked." And he told me what he told us. Told Eden, "What did you do?" And he says, "No, the woman convinced me." And he asked the woman, "Why you did it? Why you eat from the fruit? It's from the prohibited fruit." And she said, "No, the snake convinced me." So he said, "From now on, the man will need to work as hard as he can, breaking his back, dropping, uh, dropping. Let me say, dropping sweat, dropping sweat and sweating all the time to be working and to be able to eat." And he will need to work all his day, every single day of his life, to be eating, to be healthy, to stay alive. And to the woman, he said, "You will have horrible pains in the days you in the ways you give birth. So actually, girls die from giving birth. In these days, not that much, but before the 90s, 70s, the 1960s, girls actually died because they weren't tools to save them. So the pain is hard. The pain is extremely hard. The pain can kill you. And he said actually you will be fighting with your husband to trying to go burn him all the time. So we can say something in Eden, in the Eden, in the Eden, in paradise, they weren't a number one or a number two or number one or number two or number two or number one. There was all together. Everything was all established. But in the moment that Eden and Eve sin, he make all animals, all humans came to earth. So he make just one sin. You know what I mean? Just one sin, one treason to God. One treason to God. My question is, what will happen if Eve said, "Yeah, I did it. I was. I wanted to be like you. I wanted to be like you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." What will happen if Eve said, "I did it too. That's my fault"? Well, I think the sin or the consequences wouldn't be as hard as we know about it, because if we read the Bible we can see Eden was saying what the fault of Eve, and he was saying what the fault of the snake, and the saints say it was the fault of the devil, and they will say, well, I didn't have wind. um, but the consequences is something interesting. The consequences is a hard word. It's a really hard word. Just to hear it is enough to be in a bad situation, in a bad feeling, in a bad understanding. The interesting part of this is that God promised one thing to Eden, and He said, "But no worry, in some point, I will send a man that will save all your people, all your sons, all your daughters from the sin." And that one is Jesus Christ. Um, to end this podcast, I will close this with an enlightenment. When God closed the Eden, and you can read in chapter 2 of Genesis, He put a sword in the entrance of the Eden with fire and with ton of stuff, and fire blowing up from the sword, and He put how you say that, He put cherubs, querubines, cherubs in every single side of the existence of the Eden, so the Eden will be closed. Um, in chapter in the next pages we can read a good point about how God how God is was wanted to be. So when Cain and Abel and Cain, the two sons of Adam, make a tribute to God, one was from flesh. What flesh? What apes do from flesh? Well, because he's representing the crucifixion of God. So the only moment they could clean their sins is with a blood sacrifice until Jesus sacrificed. And Cain said, with fruit. So it was pretty easy. He just needed to find an animal. He said, "Why God? Why you rejected me? Why you don't want me?" And all this stuff. And he's he's angry and sad and a crying baby, and in so many aspects he's fighting against God. And here says, God says to him, porque esas, God says to Cain, ¿por qué estás tan enojado? Preguntó el Señor a Caín. ¿Por qué te ves tan decaído? Serás aceptado si haces lo correcto, pero si te niegas a hacer lo correcto, entonces ten cuidado. El pecado está a la puerta, al acecho y ansioso para controlarte, pero tú debes dominarlo y ser su amo. That's impressive, impressive. God says to Cain, why are you so angry? Why are you so angry, my man? Why are you so angry? Why are you so sad and so with your head down? What's happening? If you just make the correct thing, you will have enlightenment and blessings. If you just follow what I'm saying to you, you will be having blessings. But if you deny yourself to do the right thing, you need to be careful. Because sin, you are now in this world. Where is sin? Where are demons? So the sin is waiting for you, is hunting you. And the sin is desiring, is anxious, is wanting to be controlling you all the way through. But you need to be their master of the sin, and control him. Cain didn't listen and he killed Abel. So Cain had tons of problems, thousands of problems. He's he has a malediction where he was poor all his life. Poor all his life. And we need to understand something. When you kill someone, the whole blood, not the blood that is in the flesh, actually also the blood that is in the flesh, but all the blood of that one, the blood that is um, their sons, their nieces, their their family, the whole generation asking for vengeance. So that happened when you kill someone. The whole generation of that people, the whole descendants of that one, will ask for vengeance to God. Why God decided that way? Because He wanted. And here we can say it, we can read it in the Bible, in His Word, in His enlightenment. So pretty much that's my closing of the podcast. I hope you like it. I hope everything was fine. This is the beginning of Genesis. This is the beginning of. We're just in the first few chapters. So let's make a prayer to go to close this one and to be super enlightened, super in a blessing for him, in a ferenum for him. So if you want to pray, if you want to talk to God, if you want to have a connection with God, this is a moment. Just follow my praying and pray yourself. Say whatever you want to say to God. Uh, be careful, of course. Be careful. He's the Father. He's the King. So be really careful about what you're saying because He's not a human king or He's not like a human father. He's a celestial one. He's the whole power. He's the whole fruit. He's the whole uh, enlightened. He's the creator. He's your father, your holy father. So let me pray. Father, dear King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the enlightenment, the power, the understanding, the clean Father, the purification, the sanity, enlightenment, the beauty. You are gorgeous, Father. I adore you and I thank you for this day. Please bless us. Bless every single moment of all, every single action, every single second, Father. Bless, please, Father. Bless us, please. My King, my Lord. I'm your slave for. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So let's make a recapitulation. We said that actually the woman came from a rib from the man, not from the funny part of the ear, not from the lips or a piece of heart. I will give a quite big piece of heart, or a little one, or a big one. Um, so, um, and we can say you are bones of my bones, you are flesh of my flesh, you are the enlightenment, and you have my spirit. We understand that there is a union between a wife and a husband. So when the wife is with the husband, they close together the whole spirit and they're one spirit, just one spirit. Um, we saw that, we totally saw that. So um, we saw that Aiden was living, I don't know, with his mouse friends and with telling jokes to the tiger and things like that, bullying the lion and stuff like that. We can say that one scene, just one scene, well, just one scene, just one scene make us live like we are living. And I know it's not, we think it's not that bad, but women can die from giving birth, and men can die from working, and dying for any kind of stuff. I mean, there's tons of badness and demons that make people and people bad people also. It's a dangerous place to live. So one scene make all this stuff getting crazy and pretty logo. Um, we also said we also saw that, and that's actually something quite good. I love this. When God closed Eden, closed it with a sword of fire. What does the sword represent? Well, the Spirit of God. Remember that is God, the Spirit, God, Jesus Christ, and the Spirit in one body, in one self, in one being. So the Spirit is the sword. He put some cherubs, some querubines around the Eden to close it. And to end this podcast, I want to remind you that when Cain killed Abel, killed Abel, then killed Abel. Before that, God, you're so sad. Why you're so angry? You just need to do the correct thing. You just need to do the correct sacrifice. Do what I'm asking you. Do the correct thing. Follow the correct path. If you don't do it, you need to be careful because the sin is following you, is wanting you, is wanting to control you, to control all your body. But you need to reject it and be master of the sin. That's the phrase that I want to close this podcast. Master of the sin. What does those mean? Well, controlling the sin, not being a master of sin in sinning, but controlling the sin in the whole aspect. Well, that's all for today. Thank you, people. Thank you for all this. I love you. Tons of kisses. 4 kisses. Mwah, mwah.